Hello, mCLASS Intervention users. My name is Linda, and I'm a member of Amplify's educational support team. In this next section, I will give you an introduction of mCLASS Intervention. During this module, we will confirm the importance of targeted intervention. We'll learn how mCLASS Intervention helps catch students up, and we'll know what is required to get the most out of mCLASS Intervention. Our 2 million student nationwide data show most struggling readers, those who begin the year below benchmark or well below benchmark, don't get to benchmark by the end of the year. For example, in kindergarten, schools get about half of the students who start the year well below benchmark to grade level, and they get about 7 out of 10 of the students who start the year below benchmark to grade level. But in grades 2 or higher, those odds drop to about 1 out of 10 when students begin the year well below benchmark, and 5 out of 10 when students begin the year below benchmark. Why do you think it's so difficult to catch up a student or reach benchmark if they start the year well below benchmark or below benchmark? One reason it's so difficult to catch up a student is that catching up requires a student to grow faster than their grade level peers. This video visualizes what needs to happen in order to catch up. It's a clip of The Freeze. For those of you who don't know The Freeze, he's an act that comes out to perform in the 7th inning of an Atlanta Braves baseball game. At the start of the games, fans register to race the freeze, and one is picked at random. During the 7th inning stretch, the fan is given a substantial head start, so that by the time the freeze starts to run, the fan is about halfway to the finish line. Does the freeze catch up? Let's see.
My new favorite promotion on the road here, the freeze rock. A fan gets a head start, and then the freeze tries to catch him. I mean, that's a significant head start.
Man, no kidding.
I didn't think he had a chance, but he just fetched this guy. Closing speed.
Is this instead of the mascot race?
I love it. This guy can fly.
Looks like a young Davey Nelson.
And then down he goes. You lose, sir.
Man, he wasn't even breathing heavy.
So what did the freeze do to catch up? He ran faster than the fan, until the point he caught up. The freeze is our struggling reader in this instance. If we are to get struggling readers caught up, we need to get them to grow faster than grade level peers. But what does it take to get a student who is behind to grow faster than their grade level peers? Changes to their home lives? Maybe more time to get there. More staff for more time. Tier 2 or Tier 3 intervention? Better lessons and instruction, more targeted instruction. Some of the things I've heard have to do with having more time and using that time in a more targeted way. So let's continue to learn how mCLASS Intervention enables these. One way to help students who are behind grow faster and catch up is to focus or target the instruction they get during intervention. Specifically, focus on what each student is ready to learn at that moment every day. Let me give you an example. I'm showing you the item level results of a first grader at their MOY, specifically the item level results from the nonsense word fluency assessment. The student scored a 28 on nonsense word fluency, which is well below benchmark for that time of year. If you're not familiar with this assessment or you need a quick refresher with NWF, let me give you a little bit of a background. The student is given a page of make-believe words and is instructed to read the words. The educator then scores the assessment. A line underneath a letter marks a sound that was read correctly. Red squares show sounds that were read incorrectly or skipped. This student read the word as and hesitated on and t. So the assessor marked the R and T as incorrect. Then the student moved on to the next word and read d. As you can see from the red, the student does not have the accurate letter sound correspondence. And you can tell from the lines that he or she is struggling to blend letter sounds. Do all first graders who are well below benchmark at MOY need the same skills? Most would say yes. Do all first graders who scored the same need the same skills? Almost all would say yes, but that isn't actually true. Let's take another look at another first grader who scored 28. A line underneath a word shows that the student blended all letters and read the whole word and not just the individual sounds. This student read the first word as rit, then moved on to the next word and read it as dut. The student on the right has accurate letter sound correspondence and demonstrates the ability to blend. However, this student is slow in that he or she tackles fewer nonsense words. Both of these students are behind their grade level peers, but in spite of sharing the same raw scores, they're at different points in the skills continuum, and they need different instruction to optimize their progress. The child on the left needs support on letter-sound correspondence and blending. The child on the right needs to improve fluency. But how can staff deliver tailored instruction to each student in need, day in and day out? Schools have had to deal with two unsatisfactory choices for early elementary reading intervention. Paper programs are great because they're staff-led, but they come with a prepackaged scope and sequence that does not target instruction to the specific needs of each child. As a result, they tend to advance struggling students too slowly to catch them up. Now, some paper programs do allow for use of progress monitoring data, but they expect busy educators to make adjustments to upcoming content, rather than automatically provide those adjustments to the educators. Most computer programs are at least somewhat data-driven, but aren't a good fit for early elementary students because 5 to 8-year-olds can't really self-regulate on devices. Also, computer programs are designed to be used as a supplement for all, rather than an intervention for the few who need to rapidly catch up. For example, some of these computer programs only provide 45 minutes of instruction per week, which is below the minimum recommendation made by institutions such as the RTI Action Network. Amplify set out to find a solution to this dilemma. We asked ourselves, how can we get the best of both worlds? Can we make automatically targeted, staff-led instruction a day-to-day possibility? We convened a national panel of experts to help develop a solution. These experts included leading researchers such as Dr. Catherine Snow, but also included practitioners from school districts. The solution we came up with is called mCLASS Intervention, formerly called Burst Reading. We think mCLASS Intervention is a breakthrough in reading intervention. It uses software data analysis algorithms and a large activity bank to do the heavy lifting of data analysis and lesson prep. After you administer the placement test or progress monitoring assessments, mCLASS Intervention automatically analyzes item-level data and identifies the optimal focus area for each student. mCLASS Intervention then automatically puts students who share the same focus areas into small homogeneous groups. Then, mCLASS Intervention automatically prepares detailed and targeted lessons for each group by selectively pulling from a bank of more than 4,000 research-proven activities and matching the activities to the student's shared zone of proximal development. Staff then deliver the lessons to students in small groups. During other times in the day, or on nights and weekends, students complete extra practice to build their automaticity. The cycle then continues once the progress monitoring data is refreshed. Let's go through each of these one by one. The first step is to progress monitor your students. We will go into this deeper in future modules. The second step is grouping. This is the mCLASS Intervention Continuum. It starts with phonological awareness and extends into decoding and fluency skill areas and culminates with comprehension. Recall the first grade student we discussed a bit ago. The student's most recent data suggests that he or she would now focus on letter sound knowledge and blending to improve their accuracy. The mCLASS intervention algorithm does item-level analysis to determine where each child is on the reading skills progression and which specific skills they need to focus on. Let's take a look at an example of how an intervention coordinator would use this algorithm to form groups. On the next screen, you will be able to select each class from which you wish to group students. Your first step is to determine how you would like to group students. You can group within a class, cross-class, or cross-grade. Remember that our recommendation is to group cross-class. Start with one grade level at a time, and then drag all the classes into the pool. At our demo school, we decided on cross-class grouping in first grade, so I'm selecting all of our first grade classrooms. By default, all students are included. You can opt to filter out students whose risk level is above benchmark, or not available. You can also filter out students with IEPs or English language learners. Based on your original screening results, you have already selected students who will participate in mCLASS intervention. Therefore, all available students who were rostered in mCLASS should be placed into groups. If you made any changes to these grouping preferences, select Reset to Default. We can always decide to remove individual students from groups if necessary. Select your preferred group size, and remember that we recommend no more than 6 students per group. Determine the number of groups you will need based on the number of students you will put in mCLASS intervention. To do that, divide your total number of students by 4.5. We recommend no more than 6 students per burst group. Select the number of groups from the drop-down menu. Once you select Create Groups, the algorithm then does item-level analysis to determine where each student is on the reading skills progression. It's looking at details from assessments such as how many letter sounds a student attempted on nonsense word fluency, and how many of the attempted sounds were correctly produced. This type of analysis would take humans weeks to do on their own, but mCLASS intervention does it in seconds, thanks to computer processing power. After the analysis is complete, mCLASS intervention determines which specific skills each student needs to work on, and who else is in the same place in the progression. It then forms homogeneous groups based on the grouping preferences you selected. You can see the 2 skills on which each group will focus by clicking on the banner with skill names on it. This group will focus on letter sounds and blending. By clicking on the banner, you can see where those skills fall on the mCLASS intervention reading continuum. Here you see that we have one group focused on phonological awareness and letter sounds. And we have 3 groups focused on letter sounds and blending. The highest groups, groups 9 and 10, will focus on regular words and irregular words. After creating staff schedules, we will reassign each group to the right instructor. For now, we'll leave them as is and click Save. Now let's take a look at the lessons that mCLASS intervention generates for interventionists. This is a screenshot of our mCLASS intervention software after the groups have been created. Here you see which students have been placed in this group and where each is in the continuum of early reading skills. Most have some phonological awareness, but no letter sound knowledge. To view the lesson I will teach, I'll click on the View PDF button. When you click View PDF, you get a set of lessons our data analysis algorithm and lesson generator compiled for the specific set of students at this specific point in time. We call this set of lessons a burst. No 2 bursts are alike, because every small group is likely to have different needs at any point in time. In every burst, there is a 10-day roadmap. The roadmap is a great way to get an overview of a 10-day plan. Let's take a deeper look at the 10-day roadmap for this particular burst. You'll see that for the next 10 days, the students in this group will focus on 2 strands, phonological awareness and letter sound knowledge. And during the 10 days, there are 9 daily lessons, and 1 day set aside to administer progress monitoring. All bursts are packaged in this way. Each daily lesson has 5 activities, A, B, C, D, and E. All lessons are structured this way. On day 1, the lesson introduces the concept of phonemic segmentation. As students progress through each day, they move along the phonemic awareness continuum and will get activities that get progressively more difficult. This activity comes from Day 9, Activity B. It focuses on middle sound segmentation accuracy. If you were to refer back to the 10-day lesson plan, you'd see that this activity is more advanced than the previous day's activities. It's more cognitively demanding than identifying the first or last sound in a word. Let's study it first, then we can see it in action. The goal is for students to identify the middle sound of spoken words. You see that the lesson is scripted. Mr. Say tells the instructor exactly what to say. Pedagogically, each of the mCLASS intervention activities always starts with a modeling, I do, during which the teacher demonstrates how to do the activity. The instructor then turns to students for individual or independent practice with a you do. Some of our lessons also include an additional layer of support with a group practice or we do activity, depending on the complexity of the lesson. Let's move on to actually see what mCLASS intervention looks like in action with students. Let's watch the activity being delivered to a group of students. Before I hit play, I want you to reflect on a few questions. Are there any students who find the activity too easy? Are there any students that find the activity too difficult? Are students engaged in thinking?
How are you guys doing? Good. Great. All right, so today we're going to start with a game, and we're going to pretend that we're sound detectives, okay? So I'm going to show you guys some pictures, and we're going to need to find some pictures to fill up our bag. So I'm going to say a sound, and I want you to find which picture has the sound in the middle, okay? So, there you go. So my turn first, okay? My turn first. So I would like to find a picture that has the sound E in the middle. My turn first. So I'm going to be a good sound detective. Which picture has E in the middle? Found it. Fish.
No.
Ish.
Yes.
Yes. Fish has E in the middle, right?
Oh, I think so.
Ish. Fish. So we're going to put it in our bag. Alright? Okay, let's work on the next one. So raise your hand if you know the next one, but I haven't said the sound yet, so how are you raising your hand? Okay, the next one I would like you to find, sound detectives, is the picture that has aw in the middle. So be a good sound detective and look around. Which one has aw in the middle? Krisa.
Dog.
Dog. That's right.
Shopping.
Which sound has ah in Sweetie?
Cat.
Cat.
There's two in it.
You guys are so good. I'm going to add all of the pictures then. Okay. Alright. Which picture has aw in the middle, Emery? Car. Say car. You're right. The sounds in car are k, r. And what sound did I ask for? Aw. Say aw. Aw.
Car has
Say k, r. R. Do you hear aw in k, r? No. Nice try though. Do you want to try again? Which card is that?
I think what it is.
It's a rat.
That is a mouse.
Well, you know what? I really love how you're giving her a chance and waiting for her to get a turn. Tell me the sounds in rat.
Rat.
What's the middle sound in rat? Ah, but I asked for aw. Let me try to help you out. Look at these two. Which one has the aw sound in the middle? What's the picture?
I don't know what it is.
So how do you know it's that one?
It's a fox.
Okay, so here. This is
It's just a guess.
It's a guess. So let's not guess, because we're trying to be sound detectives, right? And in detective, you're not trying to guess, you're trying to get the right one. So this is 6, and this is fox.
Fox.
Which one has aw in the middle?
Fox.
Fox, that's right. Thank you.
I can show.
Yep, you can put it in the bag.
I'll put it.
Okay, which one has the ah sound?
Hat.
Hat. Now grab it.
Oh my goodness.
Want to help him? Put it in the bag. right.
One.
Which one has the, thank you for sitting down, which one has the sound in the middle? Rocks.
Duck.
Duck. Right. Which one has the ah sound in the middle? Sweetie. Mom. Nice.
So, what did you think? All students had the same zone of proximal development. No one was bored or overly frustrated. It was a high-energy, fast-paced pedagogy that encouraged students to have productive struggle while still engaging them in fun. It was a subtle but impactful move to maximize student thinking. I saw the educator calling on students only after posing the question and after giving all students wait time. This is a great way to put cognitive demand on all students, even as the teacher calls on only one student. Let's go to the practice portion of mCLASS Intervention. mCLASS Intervention comes with a practice app that gives students additional practice outside of intervention. The app consists of a set of games that build automaticity and phonological awareness and the decoding skills. Games are optimized for kindergarten, grade 1, and grade 2, and are designed so that 5 to 8-year-olds will find them fun and engaging. As students progress in skills, the practice app unlocks new content and games, allowing students to advance at an individualized pace. It works on iPads, iPhones, and iPods. It can be used during the school day and on nights and weekends. Each game in the app is linked to a specific early literacy skill. Students are presented with images, letters, letter combinations, and words, and must match them to the sounds they hear. Consistent with the mCLASS intervention model, new games with more advanced skills are automatically unlocked as students progress and become more proficient in earlier skills. Many teachers in our pilot sites use the practice app during station time and give it to all their students as a supplement. Some have gone as far as having families download the app on their personal phones and tablets, and having students use it at night, on weekends, and during summers. Let's take a look at the efficacy of mCLASS intervention. What we see in our data is that students in schools that implement mCLASS intervention with fidelity outpace those in diverse settings. The graph on the left has to do with student progress, the amount of growth that happened between the beginning of the year and the end of the year. The graph on the right is the end-of-year attainment, where the students ultimately ended up at the end of the year. Of course, progress begets end-of-year attainment, so let's begin by taking a look at the progress on the left. Our data show that the vast majority of students at exemplar sites who implement mCLASS intervention with fidelity make above typical progress or well above typical progress on Dibble's composite measures. In our exemplar sites, 62% of students make above typical or well above typical progress. National norm is 40%. If you look at non-mCLASS intervention schools in a variety of settings, those that are in urban, high poverty, high ELL, or low ELL, rural high poverty or low poverty settings are roughly in line with national norms. So what we conclude from this is that mCLASS intervention students outpace the progress that non-mCLASS intervention students in a variety of settings make throughout the year. The great news is that it translates to end-of-year results. These are all students that begin the year well below benchmark or below benchmark, and what we see at our exemplar sites is that 79% of those students reach benchmark or above benchmark by the end of the year. That's 8 out of 10, which is phenomenal progress. Whereas the others are roughly in line with national norms, somewhere between 40 to 50% of those students reach benchmark or above benchmark at the end of the year. As you can see, those students who are benefiting from high-fidelity mCLASS intervention delivery are outpacing those who are not getting mCLASS intervention.
Let's hear what educators have to say about mCLASS intervention. You'll hear from a classroom teacher, a language arts supervisor, a literacy coach, and director of instructional services.
One of my students didn't have any pre-K experience, just came in, couldn't identify his name, letters, really came in bare. And he struggled along the way, but once we got burst rolling, the fast pace worked for him. He was eager to do the next and to learn more. First is a 10-day cycle, so it refreshes. We teach for 7 days, then we assess the students on the skills that were taught for those 7 days. Then it regroups and pulls that data so that the lessons can be formed for the following 10-day segment. Burst coupled with our mCLASS really helps to manage our groups, to pinpoint skills to work on.
Remember that a sentence has to have a who or a what. So who do we want our sentence to be about? What do you think, Hannah?
About you in class.
Maybe about me in class. So maybe I would say, I am, what's this word?
First class.
I am first class.
First is the right instruction at the right time with the right intensity. The fact that it's ever changing and it's responsive to data is the strongest point. It's very individualized. It values what children know, and it shows us where we can capitalize on those strengths to firm up some other areas where there may be gaps.
Our teachers really plan together and we cross-class group so that we can actually meet more children's needs. When you have a group of students who need the same type of interventions or their skills are similar, then you're able to use activities that really hit all of their needs. It helps to keep them on task. It helps to keep them focused, and they feel like it's special. And it is special. It's specially designed for them.
What FIRST has done for us in the district is it's allowed the teacher more teaching time because it's doing all the creation on the back end in terms of what does this child need in order to progress in their learning path.
It's so fun to be in a school and watch when the children come into the room for their burst lesson. You can see the delight in their eyes. They're going to get that time with the teacher. We're able to compare children who have had burst with children who have not had burst. And those results have been very impressive.
It's worth noting that mCLASS intervention has external validity. We've subjected it to a large nationwide study, 14,000 students in 56 schools. In that study, the researchers found that indeed students getting mCLASS intervention outpaced those getting a variety of programs. We were happy with this finding, but we were not content. We've continued to find ways to improve the results students get with mCLASS intervention. So, what's the overall message we'd love for you to take away from this introduction to mCLASS intervention? The bottom line we hope you take away from this is to get struggling students caught up by making daily, targeted, staff-led instruction a reality. mCLASS intervention completes data analysis for the team. It provides staff-standardized diagnostic probes. It automatically analyzes diagnostic data and identifies the optimal focus area for each student. It automatically puts students with the same skill profiles into small homogeneous groups. mCLASS intervention completes targeted lesson preparation for busy staff. It uses engaging, research-proven pedagogies. It automatically produces detailed, targeted lessons a wide variety of staff can deliver with fidelity. mCLASS intervention extends students' practice into nights, weekends, and free times in the school day. mCLASS intervention maximizes the number of students that can be served. Before we wrap up, let's review some of the practices we see in schools that get the most out of mCLASS intervention. The reason I'm going to list these is because we're going to cover some of them in future video modules. They group across entire grade, all classrooms, to optimize skill targeting. They optimize class and staff schedules to ensure every student in need is in a group, and that each group is assigned an interventionist. They start strong, early and intensive intervention, even in kindergarten. They hold Tier 2 and Tier 3 instructional time sacred. They coach interventionists to ensure high-quality delivery of lessons. They ensure progress monitoring data is accurate by limiting progress monitoring responsibility to a few who have demonstrated their accuracy. They have a single owner who is the day-to-day coordinating force for intervention. For example, someone who oversees students' progress, updates groups, and spots students who need Tier 3 intensity or a different modality. Nationwide, schools that get the most out of mCLASS intervention follow these practices. So, what's next? Talk to your school leader or intervention coordinator to find out what role you will be playing in your school's mCLASS intervention implementation this year. View the remaining webinars. and get started. If you need any support, contact our educational support team at amplify.com/support.